Welcome to the second episode of Details Matter. I have a very special guest today, my good friend Shane Makan. He's an IFBB Pro. He's a world-renowned coach. He's done exceptionally well in the coaching space. And we have a lot of stories. We've been friends for 10 years now, so we have a lot of good stories to tell if you guys want to hear them. And I'm going to share just a bit about his journey. He's going to tell us a bit about his coaching experience, him as an athlete. He's the first Indian IFBB Pro to earn his pro card, obviously, in men's physique, and now he competes in classic physique, and he does exceptionally well as a fitness coach to lifestyle clients and even to some athletes. So I'm very lucky and happy to have him on today.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Good, yeah. So let's just take it back many years, because I know you and I have very similar stories. You know, we have very similar even backgrounds and upbringings. You have a wealth of knowledge. You know, many times in my life where I've needed somebody to give me encouraging words or advice, or just someone to listen to me. You've been there for me. I remember one time when I herniated my discs, you were digging your elbow into my back for 2 hours to give me some relief. You came ice. We went ice. What is it called? Ice bathing.
Ice bathing. Yeah.
You came in the ice bath with me when I was in so much pain to help me out.
In a wheelchair at the airport.
Push me in a wheelchair at the airport.
Once you almost went flying.
Yeah. A lot of good memories. So take us back, I guess, for people that don't know your story. I think it's important that people know, like, your childhood and, where you came from in terms of your body. Like, were you always into fitness? Were you not into fitness? Because obviously you're always in good shape now. So just take us back to, like, your childhood, high school, whatever, and you can give us a bit of understanding of who you are.
Yeah, so growing up, I was completely out of shape. We actually moved from one city to another city, from Toronto to Mississauga, and change was really hard for me. It was really hard for me to adapt, and it was hard for me to even make friends. I literally had no friends. I was 14, I had my first job. I was working at Food Basics. I used to use that money to buy food all the time. I'd buy McDonald's, I'd buy pizza. I used to actually hide boxes of pizza behind my washer at home. And I remember at one point, after like 2 or 3 weeks, my mom was like, "Who the fuck ordered all this pizza?" I was like, "Oh, it wasn't me. I blamed it on my sister," or whatever.
How old were you when you were doing that?
I was 14, man. I was 14.
How much did you weigh when you were 14?
So I was probably
at your heaviest before you started working out. How much?
Before I started working up, I got up to about 260 pounds, man. 260. Really, really fat. Really, really hefty. And, we didn't have any resources online. We had dial-up internet. But, I was looking at magazines and how to lose weight. I used to love wrestling, WWF. And I remember they had this ad, and it was an ad for Stacker 2. And Stacker 2 is just a fat burner, and their marketing is just live your normal lifestyle, eat how you normally eat, take this fat burner, and you'll get in shape. And it had ephedrine in it back then. That's when ephedrine used to be legal in fat burners. So I'd take that, I'd eat like fucking TV dinners, all this other shit, and then I had fucking heart palpitations. I couldn't breathe at one point. So I go to my doctor, and she asked me to go on the scale. She weighed me, she's checking my blood pressure. She's like, diabetes runs in your family. Like, you'd be lucky to hit 30. It scared the shit out of me. And this is literally grade 12, before winter break. We had a 4-week period. I stopped fucking eating, man. Because I didn't know what to eat. I'm like, okay, well, I've tried dieting. That's not working for me. I used to run around the block. My neighbors would scream, "Run, Forrest, run." And I was fat out of shape. So I ran so quick as I can to get home. And I never fucking ran outside after that. So I just fucking starved myself for 4 weeks. I literally didn't eat shit. So I was anorexic.
So you went from 260 to how much?
I eventually, my lowest was about 145.
So you went from 260 to 145 eventually?
Yeah, eventually. And people would make fun of me, like, "Dude, you look great, but fuck, your head's way too big for your body. You look like a bobblehead." And I was like, fuck, there's no pleasing people, man. I tried every diet. I tried fucking Subway. You remember Jared? He'd have...
Pedophile?
Yeah, exactly. The pedophile, yeah, man. So I used to get like a foot-long sub, and I thought, okay, as long as I'm having a sub, I'm going to lose weight. And then the fine print's like, he only eats like a 6-inch sub. I used to get I remember getting a meatball sub, because I'm like, as long as I'm eating Subway, I'm good. And then that's when they started coming out with brochures of the nutritional information. I'm like, holy shit, this is almost like 2,000 calories. After I ate, I went straight to the bathroom, 2 fingers down to the dome, puked it all out.
How old are you at this time?
I was about 16 years old, man. I was 16 years old. I was really struggling with losing weight. I really wanted to lose weight. Had no resources, knew nothing about losing weight. Nothing at all.
I think there's a lot of people that do that, right? And I actually think a lot of people have eating disorders. A lot of people have body image issues and don't even realize it. They don't know how to classify it as that. They don't know how to categorize it and say you have an eating disorder or you have body image issues. And I think a lot of people are like that. A lot of people, they resort to throwing up. They resort to not eating, under eating, malnourishing, all these sorts of things. And a lot of these things are. I always say this. Your personality is largely formed, I believe, when you're in high school. Okay, I think in high school there's so much external pressure, there's so much influence, there's so much peer pressure, there's so much, bullying and all these sorts of things that your personality is shaped there to a large degree. And then for the rest of your life, you're almost chasing becoming someone or running away from something from those years of your life. So. That's where a lot of our bad habits start, and we start to resort to eating disorders. Like for me, it's I was known as a strong guy, so the rest of my life after that, I was pursuing being the strong guy, just because of high school, And looking back, I realized that maybe that wasn't the right decision, but I was so influenced based on what other people thought of me, without knowing that that's who I ultimately became, right? So do you think there was a lot of peer pressure to be a certain way or look a certain way that caused you to start?
Well, listen, I definitely had an inferiority complex about myself, and I would belittle myself all the time, mentally. I used to think, fuck, what the fuck did I do in my past life to deserve all this shit that I was going through at the time? Even eating, I always thought, in the cafeteria at high school, I thought people were staring at me all the time. So I actually used to eat in the library in a little cubicle by myself. I had my Sony CD man, I'd listen to music, and I'd just fucking eat and just stay alone. I had a hard time making friends with anyone because I thought everyone was just literally judging me all the time.
Mm-hmm. I have a similar, for me, it's kind of similar in a different way, but similar. I would never eat in front of other people too, because my mom would pack Arabic food, and then I would eat Arabic food, but I would be embarrassed because people would, make comments. And I grew up in a predominantly, at that time, where I grew up initially was white area, so it was Canadian, just, traditional Canadian white. So it was very different at that time. It wasn't as multicultural as, I moved away, I moved to different areas that were worse. But at that time there in particular, that's what it was. So it was very uncommon for people to see Arabic food. And I was made fun of for that a lot. I was called different names and, all those sorts of things. So I also reverted to not wanting to eat in front of people as well. So, we both had similar experiences. Obviously they led us in different ways for whatever reasons and affected us differently. But all of these little things accumulate in our lives and then change our perception on life, right? So what ultimately from that point, what made you want to get into lifting weights after you were throwing up the food or realizing how much calories, were, because what I would do, one time I ate 4 Oreo ice cream sandwiches and I went for a 2-hour run. I ate a box and then I went for a 2-hour run because that was my eating disorder, you could say, because I was trying to just burn it off.
You're lucky, man. I used to try running and I'd only last 5-10 minutes. Felt like my throat would close up. I couldn't breathe. It's fucking embarrassing. And then I got a membership at YMCA and they put me on the financial aid program. So I think it was $19.99. And I remember.
Program we still get.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell them we can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So I started training. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was literally looking at other people and trying to mimic what they're doing when they're done on the machine. And I was drenched in sweat, not from the workout, but from the anxiety. And I felt like literally everyone was staring at me, judging me. So I remember the next day that was a Sunday night. I had school the next day. I woke up screaming. My body was so fucking sore. I went into the shower. I had to lean over and I'm squirting shampoo into my head, in my hair, and I got it all over my face and my eyes. My eyes were burning, and it's fuck it, I'm not going to school. I didn't go to school for the whole week. I couldn't move. But so that I literally went to the gym once. I didn't go again, and it wasn't until I lost all my weight. One of my good friends that I had made after I lost my weight, he used to go to the gym regularly, and I went with him, and he kind of showed me the ropes. And it's just something so that was at 16 and I never gave up. I've stuck with it. I fell in love with it right away. And it's just like, some people, like, you're great at football, people are great at basketball. I suck at all sports. Like, everyone wants me on their team now until I fucking play. And they're like,
yeah, you're not the best at it.
Go on the fucking bench, bro.
You don't have the best coordination, no. But I say this about Shane all the time to everyone. He's the strongest guy I know. I don't know what your body's made of, but it's pure strength. Literally, this guy's body it's impossible. It does not break. Like, he can lift. I remember I'll tell the story quick. I remember I called, you went to go pick up a machine. So we pick up like machines, we buy machines, sell machines. And the guy calls me and he's like, hey man, like, I told you to send more than one guy. And I said, why? Like, it's fine, he could do it. And he said, no, like, you're not getting the machine. Like, we're not doing this. And I said, is my buddy there? And he said, yeah. I'm like, just put this guy on the phone. He passes you the phone. And I said, Shane, it's good? You're like, yeah. I'm like, can you do it? And he said, yeah. I'm like, why is he calling me? You're like, I don't know. And then 3 minutes later, Shane sends me a picture of the machine in his truck, and he did it alone. And this guy's body does not break. It's, made of something that I've never seen before. But you may not be athletic in terms of agility and, being able to play a sport, but like your strength in the gym and your ability to lift weights is, something that very few people have. So, and ultimately, I think in life, you got to figure out that thing that you're good at naturally, that skill that you naturally have, and then hone that, right?
That's why I gravitated to lifting weights and working out. It was never really to compete or anything. I just literally fell in love with it. Every time I go to the gym, I like going to different gyms. Like, I'll go to even different Good Lives and whatnot. I love working out, and sometimes it's just being in a different environment.
Yeah, it's a big part of your life, and that's what made you successful in competing and becoming a pro. When we met, you didn't even want to do a show. Like, we didn't meet because you wanted to do a show. We met in 2012, I think.
2013 in June.
Yeah, we met in 2013. So we met 10 years ago exactly this year. And you had just done a show, I think, right?
Yeah, so I was working with another coach, and nothing to take away from him, but his programming was much different. The diet, he hardly ever changed the diet. I think for 8 or 9 weeks, he didn't even touch the diet. Leading up to the last show I did, I was only getting like carbs from veggies, and I was doing 2 hours of cardio every day. And then 3 days later, like, I binged ate, and I didn't know about what rebounding was or anything. And I was ready to go to Digital Dreams. And
Digital Dreams, guys, is like a festival for those of you that don't know.
Yeah, like, I went the year before, I was shirtless, I was ripped, and like, this is great. Women, music, alcohol, we're good. So that was like literally the next week on a Friday, and 3 days after just eating kind of whatever, I went to sleep with abs. I woke up with cankles. I could hardly smile, it hurt. I looked in the mirror, I had a gut. And I'm like Googling different random shit, and I'm checking out YouTube, and then your video pops up. Now, what's funny about this is actually that wasn't my first interaction with you. I don't know if you know this, but so do you remember bodybuilding.com?
Mm-hmm. So
we used to have body space accounts, right? Yeah. And there's an article on you, Amer the Hammer with a Hammer. And I sent you a message because I think they interviewed you or you had those 5-finger Vibram shoes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Athlete of the Week or something.
Yeah. So I had asked you about it. And then I asked you if we could do a consult. You're like, yo, yeah, sure, no problem. Come Sunday, 11 a.m. I'll never forget it because I went out drinking Saturday night. And I woke up like 10:45. I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to make it. So I messaged you, didn't reply. Messaged you 2 hours later, not reply. Messaged
like
you
me.
a week later, nothing. Must have messaged you at least like another 5-6 times, nothing. So that's why I had found the other coach. Otherwise, you would have been the first coach I've ever had. And so I saw this YouTube video. You're talking about metabolic damage. I reach out to you. We do a consult at your studio down in Toronto. And we're talking about working together, all that good stuff. I was telling you what was happening to me. You're explaining what happened to my metabolism. I really love that because no one really explained anything to me. In fact, I even bought your Obscenity book.
Ebook, yeah.
Yeah, I bought it. I followed it for 3 months religiously. And then I think we started working in September of 2013.
Yeah, so originally what was our goal when we started working together?
To fix my metabolism. I did not even want to compete.
Yeah, he had no desire, I remember, to compete again. Like, that wasn't even something maybe you did, but it was something we never spoke about. You said, that's not what I want to do. I just want to feel good. I want to feel healthy. I don't believe in metabolic damage because I think damage is permanent, but I do believe in metabolic adaptation. Your body adapts, obviously we know that. So I understand that the same way that you can adapt your metabolism to getting slower, you can adapt it to getting quicker and obviously working better than it is, to varying degrees. Obviously, some things take longer, and depending on how long you've exposed your body to different types of stress, it's going to take longer or shorter periods of time for different people. So ultimately, we started working towards that, and then I think probably, like, what did you get up to for your food? Because your food intake was crazy.
My food was stupid high, and I never thought, okay, so initially, we just started reverse dieting from August, September up until January, and it was kind of hard for me because a lot of people gauge their progress based off of how they look, how much weight they lose, and I think I only had lost like 5 or 6 pounds. I'm like, okay, I thought I'd be a lot leaner by now, but then I was looking at how much I was actually eating, so I went from having like zero carbs to having up to very close to 500 grams of carbs a day and 128 grams of fat. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm actually eating a significant amount more. I feel great. And I'm like 4 or 5 pounds leaner. If we even pull the food down even a bit, I'll start dropping weight.
Yeah, your body changed a lot. You were stronger. You were just in a better position. And I think maybe, how long before the show did we decide to do it? Couldn't have been more than 8 weeks or something.
Yeah, it was something like 8 to 10 weeks. I had asked you, like, okay, I'm a little bit interested in competing. What do you think? And they're like, okay, sure, we'll do a show.
Yeah, for those of you, actually, I'll tell a story. For those of you that don't know, I was actually coaching competitors already before that, and I stopped.
Yeah, I know.
Remember?
That's why I didn't even want to tell you that I wanted
I had stopped coaching competitors altogether, so I only started again because of him. He ended up winning the show. Beat some really good people. It was the biggest show, eating a lot of food. And I think more than even how much you were eating, it was what you were eating. You were eating cake, you were eating all these sorts of foods because we were doing flexible dieting, right?
All the time. And then people were looking at me at the show like, you're allowed to drink water? I'm like, yeah, I'm having like 2 liters today. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you were eating a lot. You were eating different food. It was a complete different approach than what you were used to, I think, right?
Well, what it was is I remember being at the gym and I used to follow a structured diet. Like, yeah, you were giving me macros all the time, but I was eating pretty healthy. And I remember you asking me, hey, what are you eating? So I sent you a screenshot of what I was eating. And you're like, you eat this every day? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, why don't you add in something else like toast, Pop-Tarts?
Yeah, Pop-Tarts at the time was popular.
At the time was very popular, yeah.
We'd go to the keg, get Billy Miner pie always.
Yeah. I swear, I thought you were fucking with me. I'm like, all right, like this guy has to be fucking with me. Like I've been eating this shit all this time, like rice, potatoes, oatmeal, eggs, and you're telling me I could have Pop-Tarts? Like it was really hard to change that belief that I had that you had to eat really clean. That's why I didn't even want to compete. And then like dieting was a joke for me after that.
So then you won that. It was would have been in April, I think.
Yeah, it was April.
You won the whole show.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, you won a magazine cover contest where you ended up getting on the magazine cover, right? Inside Fitness magazine. So things, it was like an upward trajectory, very quick in a very short period of time. And then you did the provincial show, which you placed, I think, 5th. 5th,
yeah.
Or 4th. Yeah, 5th. So you placed 5th there. Obviously, that wasn't good. We didn't expect that. And typically, like in Canada at the time, if you do a regional show, you do a provincial show, then you do a national show. So like if you're 5th at a provincial show and then the national show is what, like 3 weeks later, a month later?
Yeah, so it was June 2nd or June 3rd was provincials and nationals was June 5th. Or July 5th, sorry.
July 5th. So it was a month later.
Yeah.
Right? And typically if you can't win that, you're probably not going to win the national show.
Yeah.
You did win the national show. You ended up turning pro, earning the title of Mr. Canada a month later. So within, let's say, 4 months of working together, you had turned pro. You won 3 different things, 3 notable things. And then I think November that year, you went and did your first pro show where you placed top 5 as well.
Yeah, so, Sacramento.
But a big part of that was your body needed different things, I believe, and your body needed more food at that time to metabolize, and you were looking good as a result. And I think that something you told me which stands out was that your previous coach had said something like you can never eat carbs, or I don't remember exactly what it was regarding, but it was something about like your body can't eat carbs, or?
Yeah, he was just telling me your body doesn't respond well to higher amounts of carbs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, and again, it's nothing to take away from another coach or disrespect another coach. It's just different people need different things, right? And you know, like I said, with his body, he's so strong that his body needs food and it metabolizes it very well, right? And my body's very different. Like we've both dieted together many times, and like we do completely different approaches. We train together, and I'm just thinking of different stories when I would yell.
Me too. They're all popping in my head right now.
You know, so we had different approaches, but obviously we were both dieting and, you know, both in really good condition. So I think like, and then since then you've been competing on and off, you know, you change categories, which, you know, you've placed well in that as well, classic physique. So you started in men's physique, which is like the board shorts, and then he moved over to classic physique. So I guess maybe tell people your experience with competing and like why you enjoy it, and, you know, really, what do you like about competing? What do you love about competing?
What I love about competing is I don't really find it that difficult at all until like the last 4 weeks, but I love the structure that I have. Mm-hmm. I love the structure that I have throughout my day, even with competing. Like I find like I'm a lot more on point with everything, with work and everything throughout my day. And I already work out, I already diet. We're just manipulating the diet, and okay, sure, we're doing cardio, that's about it. Mm-hmm. But seeing the progression over the week and looking at how my body transforms, I mean, this is why I got into it, is I was always fascinated by the body, how it can progress. And, you know, a lot of people I find want to get in shape, but they quit on themselves. It's like you talk about, you're into mixed martial arts, karate. Mm-hmm.
Taekwondo.
Right? Taekwondo, yeah. So they have like the white belt, brown belt, blue belt, and they have black belt. What's the hardest belt to get?
Black.
But the white belt's actually the hardest because most people don't even start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like once you start, you get the ball rolling, right? Yeah. And then you'll get the black belt. That's not a problem.
Yeah, like you'll get the black belt just by continuing and doing and showing up, right? But most people, you're right, they don't show up in the first place, so they don't even get that white belt, you know, which people think is the worst belt.
Yeah.
The worst belt is the belt that you didn't get.
Yeah, exactly.
The no belt, right?
Yeah.
So you're right. And, you know, even for me, the only thing I miss about competing is having that structure and that like end goal of something you're working towards. Otherwise, like you're going through motions, and you know this with clients, like it's difficult when they don't have an end goal. And that's why coaching is successful for people, or, you know, it works for people because it gives them purpose, it gives them structure, it gives them all the things that you need in order for you to progress. Otherwise, if you just show up every day, it's like, well, there's nothing keeping you accountable. You know, there's no goal to keep you accountable. There's no coach to keep you accountable. And I think one of the biggest things too is, I know you and I share the same belief, you know, which is like, you know, we always engage in stupid things in life. You know, guys, you guys can all relate to that. Women, different things, but I'm sure guys relate to certain things, you know, bad behavior, bad habits, all that. And like, you don't need to get rid of any of those things in life. You just get rid of them by doing good things, you know, by having a goal, having a purpose, and automatically you get rid of all your bad habits. You know, I don't need to, you know, if drinking is my thing, if you know, doing drugs is my thing, if women is my thing, whatever it is that your thing, you will naturally just stop doing them when you have a purpose.
100%.
You know, you don't have to try to kick a bad habit. People think like, oh, I got to break this habit. It's like, you don't need to. You just need to replace it with something else.
That's it.
And you won't even have the appetite for it anymore.
Yeah, that reminds me of Eminem, right? He was on drugs and everything, and then he got off, and then he replaced it with running 8 to 10 miles every single day, and he turned into a toothpick.
Yeah, and you don't want to do drugs then.
Yeah, you don't want to do drugs.
What's the point? I have something else that's keeping me going or motivating me or keeping me structured. You know, and I think that for most competitors, that's a common theme, that they feel that purpose or that structure that keeps them going, and being in control of like being able to elicit change in your body and even your mind by making decisions. So like if I do X, Y, and Z, tomorrow I'm going to be better. And then I keep doing that, and you keep seeing the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, and sometimes it's even cutting out people. Like I've had clients that will invite me to their house. I have friends or family that invite me, and it's like they want to see me break. Especially if I'm in prep, I'm like, no, you guys can't break me. You're too weak. Yeah. That's why you guys keep falling off. You're not going to break me.
Yeah, people want to see you break.
Yeah.
They want to see you fail. They want to see, like, there are many people that want to see you just, and I think for different reasons, right? Like, I don't think people naturally want to see someone suffer. You know, like I say this even about people that I'm in competition with in business. I say like, I want them to suffer. I don't want them to die.
Yeah.
Like I still want them to survive. I don't want them to go out of business. I just want them to suffer. You know, so. Because competition is healthy, right? And we you know, whether it's even guys, friends, whether it's, you know, competitors on stage, whether it's business, like it doesn't matter. It's healthy. It's what evolves us as people. But I think that in general, like people obviously, they want to see maybe you break because it makes them feel good about themselves.
That's exactly why they do it.
Yeah. It makes them feel like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not, like, he's human too, he breaks too.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was going to say. Oh, this is kryptonite.
Yeah, I got him.
Yeah, fuck you, you're not getting me.
So how do you, like, when you're in those situations, how do you turn that down? I think that's a huge thing that people, you're a coach, obviously you have many, like, how many clients do you have right now?
Just under 100, like
Okay,
80 something.
That's exceptional for a coach, right? Obviously you have many clients. We work together, and I've seen you over the years, different stages. As an athlete, as a friend, obviously, as and in business with coaching. So, like, that's probably one of the biggest things for lifestyle clients. And you coach a lot of lifestyle clients, and because you understand people really well. What advice do you give those people that have a hard time going to, a family function or going out with friends? Because like most people don't want to go because they don't. Again, going back to childhood, you don't want to feel that pressure. You don't want to hear people say things about you, or oh, you're so boring, or you never eat, or you never, you're always eating the same thing, or why would you bring a scale here?
Yeah, I used to even have that with friends, like going out. I would take little like fish or chicken breast, put in a Ziploc bag and eat it in my car, in my trunk or whatever. And like, I don't give a fuck what people think. Like, you think I'm retarded? Sure, but I'm gonna get to my goal just because you're too weak. Like I tell clients, sometimes I'll hop on them on the phone with them, or I'll just message them and tell them what I do. What I do is I'll eat a meal before I go to a social gathering, or I'll take my meal with me.
You've always done that. You are always very prepared with your food.
Yeah, like how many times have we gone to like Jack Astor's or whatever, taking my oatmeal, I've asked them to warm it up. Yeah. We've taken our scale. Do you remember we ordered steak and the guy's
you made them weigh
8 ounces. Like, no, you're lying to us. Bring your scale.
How much? So we ordered an 8-ounce steak?
It ended up being like 5.4. He's like,
he made them bring the scale to the table. They brought the scale to the table. They put the scale on the table. We weighed the steak, and it was half.
Yeah, can you tell I have trust issues?
Yeah, he has trust issues. So never mind you guys that bring a scale to the restaurant. He made them use their scale there, bring it from the kitchen onto the table. So it caused a bit of a scene. So you're coaching people. You tell them, you give them that advice.
Also just remind them about how important their goal is to them and getting to that goal. Like, food's always going to be there. Mm-hmm. Food is always going to be there. Even going on vacation and that, I try not to make it too strict for them. So you have some flexibility, enjoy their time there. Within reason, though, right?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things, too, is food aside, how empowering it is to learn to say no to things. Yeah. Like when you're able to say no and stick to it, because you don't realize how weak we are.
Oh, yeah.
I don't realize how weak we are.
Yeah.
Nobody does until you become stronger, right? And then as you get stronger, you're like, wow, I would have given into that before. Or I would have said yes. And why would I have said yes? Just because I was too ashamed or scared to say no? So like, how many things do we do in our life just because we're afraid of saying no? We're afraid of being rejected. We're afraid of being, people saying, poor things about us. So we're like, I don't even want to bother with that because, like, I'm just going to eat this because it's easier to eat this thing and sacrifice myself and sabotage my own goals than it is to say no and be an embarrassment in front of other people.
Yeah, those pressures are hard, man. And sometimes you just got to be really, really selfish with your goals. Because nobody's going to give a fuck about yourself or your health as much as you are.
So where do you think where do you learn this from? Because like, I know you and I, as I said earlier, we have, similar upbringings in terms of our dad. We didn't have our dad in our life for the majority of our life. Maybe you could talk a bit about that and, just share some insight about that and how maybe I think you're pretty insightful and introspective, like you understand yourself pretty well. How do you think that affected who you are today? And like maybe how you had to like rework that, because there's a lot of things about myself too that are a result of being raised by a woman primarily. Yeah. Right. And like, so personality traits and like characteristics and like I had to work to break those and continuously do.
Oh yeah.
Because like there are just differences with men and women altogether.
Yeah. So even at a young age, if I could remember at the age of 4, again, I come from like a defective or broken family. And I could remember like my dad being very abusive towards my mom, and I don't know how bad it was, but I just remember she'd always tell me and my sister to go run up to our rooms. And I would always hear like screaming, crying, banging. And I used to hide under my bed and I'd cry. A couple of times I pissed myself. I fell asleep. And that would happen throughout my youth. And as a result, I kind of hated my dad. And, even growing up, like I had a bit of a learning disability. I was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age. And if I didn't get anything over like 75 or 80, my dad beat the shit out of me all the time. So I kind of knew that he was my dad, but I was much closer to my mom as a result. And I realized that I'm gonna have to stand up on my 2 feet by myself. I'm gonna have to grow up and be a man at a very young age, right? So as I grew up, I just became more and more resentful towards my father. And they had separated since a few years ago. And it's really just been me, my mom, and my sister. That's it. So we're just a tighter unit as a result of that. But the years of not having, my dad around, I had to learn how to shave, all this other stuff that you have to learn when you're growing up. Not having a dad, it does impact you. And it really did have to learn how to stand up on my own 2 feet and swing forward when I need to. But it did affect me quite a bit. In the person I wanted to be. I didn't have direction. I didn't have guidance. Got suspended a few times from school.
Do you think that like when you were gaining weight and eating a lot, that was a result of coping in some way? Managing stress or coping or, eating your emotions or eating your feelings, as they say. Do you think it was some degree of that?
Big time. Like I'd even eat fucking a loaf of Wonder Bread with a stick of butter, man.
Yeah, like I think that food for a lot of us is an escape of some sort. It's a temporary, especially when you're poor.
Yeah.
I think the only pleasure you can really get is from food, right? Like you can't afford to go and buy a brand new car.
No.
So like when when you don't have a lot of money, it's like, well, you can eat something cheap, quick, something that's inexpensive, which is typically junk food. So you get that dopamine. It's like an escape, a temporary escape. And I find myself that way. That's why I asked, because I cope with food, with stress, with all these sorts of things. So like it's like a temporary relief to shut my brain off. It's just kind of like, you get that, you're in a high for a little bit. And I think that people develop that at a young age, maybe. So often when people have eating disorders or people have, body image, it's not a direct result of food. It's a maybe that's the thing that you use, the vice that you use. Shout out to Jay Stevens Vices clothing, but it's the vice that you use. But I don't think it's necessarily the issue in itself. It's how you manage your stress.
Yeah, and it's finding out what the real problem is and the root of all your problems. And sometimes it's kind of scary to face.
So do you think that you started to use the gym to manage your stress instead of food?
I did. I wanted to recreate my identity, to be honest. I didn't like who I was. I didn't have friends. I wanted to make friends. I literally thought I wouldn't have a girlfriend. I'd die young, die a virgin. It'd be the worst thing.
You're far from that.
So yeah, that's why
you've overcome that goal.
Yeah, there we go. Check that off. So yeah, like I always stuck with it, and I literally I'll be working out till like I'm 70, 80. I really enjoy it.
You do. I know you do. That's true. Yeah, you really enjoy working out. Do you think, how do you think that your experience, because obviously, as I said, you're a successful coach. How do you think you influence and affect your clients positively? Like, I'll start by saying there are clients that you help that I couldn't help in a million years because I have different experiences. So you have a very different perspective on like dieting and on just like health in general than I do. And I know you work with people that are, like a lot of your clients, I think when they start off, you don't even start with progress pictures, maybe, like I know you've told me a few times, like this guy, we didn't even send progress pictures until he got to a certain point just because of that anxiety, right? Yeah. Whereas like for me, I would never work with somebody in that situation. That's why different coaches are good for different things. Mm-hmm. But I do think it took you a long time to figure out that thing for you, maybe to figure that thing out, like what that thing that you're good at is. Maybe you had to change yourself in some way, but there was a phase where, we've been working together for 10 years pretty much, this year. What year did you start working with me?
2014.
Like coaching people. So yeah.
Towards the end of
9 years, let's say. So you did well at the beginning, right? I think initially you were doing well. I remember we met one time, this couple, I don't remember his name, the guy, but it's a guy and a girl, a girlfriend, boyfriend.
Joey's.
Huh?
Worked at Joey's Don Mills.
Yeah, we met at a gas
Yeah,
station.
yeah.
They
Shell
meant to
gas
pay you.
station,
Yeah. Remember that? It was like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Sean, his name was?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Mercy.
So we met, obviously you were doing well. You had a lot of clients, but I think you had clients for different reasons at that time. I think because you were competing, you were winning, you were successful in that sense. And there are two different types of ways to build a business. Like you could build a business because you're popular and because you're winning. And you and I both experience this in life. Like you're successful for different reasons, but that goes away too. Like being popular goes away. You can't be popular forever. You can't chase trends forever. Like you can't win shows all the time for the rest of your life. That can't be your business model.
Yeah.
Right? You actually have to be good at the work.
Yeah.
So at that time, I don't think you were necessarily great at coaching people.
No.
Right? No offense.
I cared more about competing than anything.
Yeah. And then you went through a phase where you didn't do well because I think we were focused on competing. Right? 2016, 2017. And then you weren't doing really well altogether. You want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so even at that time, like I kind of felt like I had imposter syndrome, like taking on clients. Like I didn't know what my niche was. I didn't know like I'm taking people's money here and I gotta perform. Like this is what I gotta do. But I was just like, I had a lot of self-doubt about myself at the time. And it's something I had to overcome. And at that time, I was struggling. We had just even opened up this gym, and I was struggling with money. I was working with a family friend at the time for 4 or 5 months, and I think in that time frame, I only got paid $3,000. Like it's fucking nothing. And at that time, I was towing for a very short period of time, like 4 or 5 months, and just to make some passive income. And I was having a hard time with coaching just because I realized like I didn't know what kind of coach I wanted to be. I was used to your style of coaching and how like, okay, if I'm working with someone, I'm working with a coach, I'm going to respect what he's telling me and I got to do X, Y, and Z. I have to do all these things. It's disrespectful if I don't. Like it's never even crossed my mind not to follow it or to cheat or any of that other stuff. Like that stuff's easy. So when I was working with clients, I just found like, okay, you're cheating. Like I'd think in my head, like you're a fucking loser. Like you can't
black and white. Like either you cheated or you didn't.
That's like why are you paying me if you can't follow a diet? Like if you could follow this, I could get you in shape, right? And then I just learned like, okay, maybe I'm a bit more ignorant because some of the clients I'm taking on, maybe it's my delivery, it's the way I'm managing them, maybe the way I'm communicating with them. And I later learned, actually when COVID hit is when I really learned how to communicate more effectively with people. And that's just by reading books on coaching, taking courses in that. And just spending more time with clients.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. Like number one is the way you need to be coached or the way you're coached is not always the way other people need to be coached. Exactly. So making that assumption, right? Yeah. And a lot of people do that. And that's the problem I've had with people that work for me like as a coach, and then also at the same time are my athlete, because they might think that that's how I coach every single person, which is also not true, right?
Yeah,
certain people need different things. But also like failing to understand the level of tolerance of different people. Like some people are such a low level of tolerance that it's not so binary. It's not just like diet or don't diet. As a competitor, I do think you need that mindset. Like there is no exception to that. You have to have that mindset. But when you're a lifestyle client, somebody that's been obese for 15 years, it's not a matter of stop eating junk food and eat perfectly altogether. It's impossible that people are going to do that. That's like an anomaly. An outlier that somebody can do that, right? So I think that, you making that realization made you a much, much better coach. Obviously, the results with your clients are, significantly better. And, people just, obviously, you get a lot of referrals. People come back to you. People think, have a great experience. I remember, you're at one point, I don't know if you want to talk about what you were doing at one point for work.
Towing?
Yeah.
I was towing for a short period of time. I remember we were prepping for a show and I was working 60 to 80-hour weeks. I remember even for cardio, like sometimes I wouldn't have time to go to the gym. So I'll just go to just down Western Road, there's a little plaza. I'd run up and down the staircase. That was my stairs. Like I'd time it, I'd track my heart rate, all that other stuff, because that's how I'd get my heart rate up. Didn't even tell you, I didn't tell a soul. We had a couple of meetings here and I actually used to park my truck down a block away and I used to change I had joggers underneath. I'd wear that and just walk back here.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know until afterwards, you know, we had a conversation. You told me you weren't making money. And then obviously, you know, we figured out a way to.
But see, I'd rather do that than even, at that point, I'd rather do that than coach people that didn't even want to put in the effort or fuck around with their diet. Like, I fuck the coaching. Like, if they can't even follow this, then I'd rather do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think that you had to do in order for you to overcome that? Because I think a lot of times overcoming yourself, like getting over yourself, you know, thinking that you're, like, I'm so good that I shouldn't have to bother having this conversation with people. And I'll tell you from my experience, even being a business owner, like, I used to think, like, that person's an employee, they should know. They're an adult, they should know. You know, like, I shouldn't have to tell people this. That was, like, always my attitude towards things. But I realized, like, the reason why people work with you, or the reason why you have a client, is because you're there to solve their problem.
Exactly.
Like, if you didn't have a problem to solve, like, coaches need to get over themselves. If people didn't cheat on their diet, they wouldn't need you. I would always tell people that. Like, if they don't cheat on the diet, like lifestyle clients, they don't need you. And even if a competitor, sure, I don't tolerate it, but at the end of the day, I have to figure out why they're doing it, or how to, like, get them to stop doing it, because you know, my goal and my responsibility is to make people succeed. Otherwise, I shouldn't have this business. I shouldn't be coaching people. So I have to figure out how to do that for different types of people. Because, you know, some people are going to be 100% structured, and other people are going to, you know, deviate. So there's some people that I work with maybe that check in every day. There's some people that check in once a week. Then it changes, right? So, like, how do you accommodate or customize your coaching style for different types of people?
So yeah, I just realized at one point that I was just being very ignorant, and I could bash a client as much as I want, but if the same problem is happening every week, I have to change my dialogue with them entirely. And, you know, again, like, to your point, there's some clients that they'll take progress pictures, but they won't send it to me because they'll look at it and it'll give them anxiety, because, like, oh shit, that's a realization that this is what I actually look like. I'm not comfortable sending it to you. Cool, no problem. Is there a picture even with clothes that you're comfortable sending me? If it's a yes, cool, send it. If it's no, no problem. And some people, they don't even have, like, that are really out of shape, even in, like, the high 200s or 300s. They've never even worked out before. Sometimes it's just getting them to follow a diet initially, and then maybe a couple weeks will go by. I'll get them to send me a report, maybe not pictures. Let's look at your weight. That's the only time I'll look at a client and just base it off weight. And then I'll add in something like steps. Just go for a walk for like 20, 30 minutes today.
Yeah. So you're always just tailoring it to the person based on what they need, and exactly. I think that's why, in general, why we even sell coaching, because, you know, it's not just a program that everyone can follow. It's like, you need this and you need that, and the only way to figure that out is by communicating with people, right? And so, what do you think the number one skill you need to be a successful coach? Because you do, you know, you have 100 clients. You know, you've had crazy months in terms of income, and, you know, obviously that's going to happen when people are having a good experience with you, and there's no shame in that. What do you think the number one skill that people need in order to be a good coach, successful, whether it's a lifestyle coach or, you know, even athletes? What do you think that skill needs to be?
You have to love what you do. And I've worked with so many coaches prior to you that even when I was competing and winning, people would message me and ask if I was taking on clients. I'm like, fuck, would you come to me? Go to the guy that created me. Send him off to you. But I took things from coaches that I liked and I didn't like, and made a list of things that I did like, and what kind of coach I wanted to be for clients, and what kind of clients that I wanted. So it's really like, you know, building that rapport with clients, having that communication, being able to have that open dialogue with your clients, being able to explain to them, express to them that, you know, as a coach, I'm helping you to get to your goal physique. And, you know, sometimes it's going to be, we're always going to have to change the programming around, and sometimes I'm going to be hard on you too. But it's because I see your potential and I see where you want to go, and I want to take you there. My absolute goal is to take you there. And that's something that I promised you, and that's, I have a passion for that. I have a passion for helping people get to their goal.
Do you think you have a passion for it, though, because of you, or has been a pain in your life at some point in your life? Because I think that for me, that's what it is, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
I have a passion for helping. Like, the reason why I love having employees, number one reason, is because I want other people to do well. Like, I want to see other people make money, because, like, that was a struggle for me earlier in my life.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with fitness. Like, I love winning. So, like, I love coaching people to win because I love winning. I hate losing. So that's like a pain for me as well. So, like, I prepare people to win, like as best as I can for that reason. Do you think that it's the pain, the association with that pain or that experience in itself that makes you want to do it? Like if you were always in shape, do you really think you'd care about coaching people as much?
I do. I've always loved it. Actually, for a period of time, I did it for honestly, basically free. Before I met you, I was training this one girl at 5:30 in the morning by my house at a gym. I think she just gave me like $30. That was it per session. I trained her 3-4 days a week, and I wanted to help her out. Yes, it didn't really have to do much with the money. It was just I wanted to dive into it and get into it and just help people. But I didn't know I wanted to be a coach. I thought it'd be more of like a personal trainer occupation for me.
Yeah, I think there wasn't coaching at that time, right? It was mostly just
it was like
personal
2011.
training. So what did you want to do like when you were in school, or did you know what you wanted to do, or?
I didn't know what I wanted to. So first started going to U of T. I was taking their phys ed program, or I mean, York and them call it kinesiology.
Yeah.
And then I took police foundations. I wanted to be a cop, and then I talked to this recruiter. And after I'd graduated,
you finished the program for policing? Or you did the program?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I finished it too.
Yeah.
I did the accelerated program in
I tried to
8
become
months.
a cop, you know that?
Yeah, and a firefighter.
Oh, yeah. You know, I tried to become a cop. I told you.
Oh, did you even go through the process?
Yeah, I did all the interviews.
Oh, fuck.
And they didn't hire me.
Oh, I didn't even submit mine.
They got to the round where they talked to like your neighbors and stuff, and they never called me back after
I
that.
could have told you that.
But I was 18. No, I was bad.
No, I was 23, and then I was just talking to the recruiter, and I was like, "Listen, I got a lot of tickets. I don't like. Will I be able to get in?" And he's like, "As long as you could justify it." I'm like, "Man, I'm 22. I have 9 tickets. Like 5 of them are speeding."
Can you tell them how many car accidents you've been in for a sec?
At fault or in general?
In general. I don't care about at fault in general. It's always your fault.
Probably like 9.
You've been in more than 9.
9 plus.
Always on the phone. They're not even, you know what? This guy, he does have some bad luck in terms of that, knock on wood, but people are always rear-ending him.
Yeah.
Sideswiping him.
It was on a hit 2 years ago. It was involved in a hit and run on the 401.
Yeah, I know. So you couldn't become a cop because of your driving record?
Oh, yeah. So I was like, okay, fuck this. And I was just working out. My friend owned a trucking company, so I was just working for him. And then I got a job briefly in the telecommunications sector. And this guy, I was at the gym and I was training, and there's this guy at the gym, and for 2 weeks, this guy was staring at me all the time. And it started creeping the fuck out of me, man. And I went up to talk to him, like, "Hey, like, what's up? Like, you're always staring at me. It's very, very uncomfortable." He's like, "Yo, I wanna write an article on you." I'm like, "What?" And he just ended up being an editor for Muscle Mag, and then they did like a 3-page spread over a period of 3 months for me. So a guy that worked a 9-to-5 job doing his first show.
Yeah.
That was the first taste I ever got into.
So from the time you did your first show until the time you turned pro, how long was that?
That was a year prior.
So a year
prior
in
to
between?
working with you.
A year.
Yeah, about a year.
Yeah. So you did so before we worked together, you did your last show, which you placed what? Last place, I think.
Yeah. I literally said "fuck you" on stage.
Yeah. That's why you never want to do a show again, probably. Right? Like you typically want to do things you're good at. So I think you didn't have.
Well, no, the coach I was working with, he only really paid attention to the people that looked. They looked. Some of his clients looked incredible, and 2 of them turned out to be pros, I think, that year.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't get any attention or whatnot, and I just felt discouraged about competing entirely.
Mm-hmm. So you ended up doing that. You ended up turning pro. You ended up getting in a lot of magazines. You've been published in a lot of magazines. Like, what do you think is next for you in terms of your personal goals for fitness?
Coaching is something that I love, but when it comes to competing, I wasn't happy with how my physique looked the last few years that we did compete.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a goal of mine is just to smash that.
What would you attribute that to? Like not looking the way you want to look, not looking your best. What do you think it's the result of?
A lot of it in the past was stress. I was dealing with gut issues at the time. I'd seen multiple doctors or GI specialists about my gut. They diagnosed me with IBS. I couldn't even eat certain foods. I had to eliminate a lot of foods. And at so that happened in like 2018, and it became very depressed because I loved competing. And I thought, that's it, like I'm done. Like there's no coming back from this.
Yeah, I remember you went, I think, over a year, you never ate any junk food at all because you couldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah, because literally I'd be running in the bathroom at least 10 times a day.
Yeah, you couldn't eat at all
Yeah.
because like you couldn't even have junk even if you wanted.
Yeah,
but you're not like that anyways.
Yeah, a couple of times I've actually just fasted for like 60 hours at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why? Just to...
A, didn't have money at the time. B, the main reason was I was just tired of eating and feeling bloated, like heavily bloated.
Yeah, discomfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's an important point about stress. Like people think like when, and I know from my experience working with athletes, it's not the same every time anyways, right? So like sometimes I'll work with an athlete and let's say they don't look their best for different reasons, right? Sometimes it could be me, sometimes the athlete, sometimes it's always different anyways. A lot of times, like what's going on in your life is changing anyways, like your life is never the same. So if you do a show this year versus last year versus next year, like what you have going on in your life is going to greatly influence and affect it. Like if you lost somebody, if you went through a breakup, and that could be good or bad for different people. Like I know, like if I go through a breakup, I'm going to work harder. I know
Same.
Other people, they go through a breakup and it actually defeats them. So how do you? Because obviously, like, and sometimes, like, sure, you can push yourself as hard as you want, but like when you have a lot of emotional or psychological stress, it's going to affect your body. But like, how do you turn hard, adversities in your life, hard challenges in your life into motivation? Because I think this is like the one thing I struggle to understand in people is like, you have the best fuel right now. Like your girl just broke up with you. You have like, I wish I could bottle that kind of energy up and sell that, because I'd be so wealthy as a result of it, because of the amount of, motivation you're going to get from that. And, people let it defeat them. So like, how do you take those experiences and turn them into, into fuel to progress in life?
I always loved breakups. I always look forward to them because there's so much fucking personal growth there.
There is any pain in life.
There's so much personal growth, so much fuel there to get you towards your goals. And to me, it's never anything that's really held me back at all. I've just kept working on improving and getting better as a result. Like, it's like, fuck you. I'm not going to, like, you broke up with me. I broke up with you, whatever. I'm not going to let you see me at my lowest. I'm not going to fucking break. I'm going to thrive. I'm going to make sure I'm making more money. I look better. I'm in better shape. All that other shit.
Yeah, like for me, it's fuel as well. I think a lot of people think, like, it gets the best of them. They turn to drugs. They turn to like, honestly, I feel the same as you. Like, not that you want to keep going through breakups, but there's a lot of personal growth associated with pains in life, with challenges, with going through adversities. So like, how do you, like, were you always like that, where you could turn those pains or challenges into growth, or, is it something you had to learn, or?
It's just something that was just been ingrained in me as I've grown up. Like, honestly, we have one life to live. Like, we're in our mid 30s. That's it. We'd be lucky to hit 80. And it's what we're going to do on this planet and how we're going to impact it. And, I'm not going to be known for like quitting on my goals, whether it's a competition or whatever it is. Or, one of my fears is, dying and you have all these goals and aspirations. You see God and he's like, yo, I thought that you were going to do this, you're going to do that, but you disappointed me. You never hit any of these.
Mm-hmm. I think the same is true for me. And it's a little bit different for me. It's not like the fear of God in that sense, but it's like the fear of like, being ill for a few months or something like that, or laying on a deathbed and like thinking, man, like all those wasted times when you could have been enjoying yourself, or enjoying yourself with family, or working on goals or that you said no to, or you gave up, and all these, like those regrets. Ultimately, it's the only thing that really makes me want to keep getting up every day, is like fearing that regret one day, that I might be in a position where I wish that I just did those things, or I wish I didn't quit, or I wish I didn't give up on myself. And I think that more people need to have that perspective. I think that's all you can have. It's not that you or I have a better mindset, or it's just a perspective that other people may not adopt. And if, I can offer people a different perspective on things, a different way to see life, then, you're more inclined to having a better life as a result of it.
Oh, 100%.
So what's next for you?
Me, well, we're competing, cat's out of the bag in 9 weeks. That, and honestly, just putting more effort and into coaching.
Cool. I look forward to seeing more. Obviously, you're going to be competing in 9 weeks. I'm going to have you on before you compete again, because we want to get you while you're inside out shredded and your face is sucked in and you look deathly ill.
Yeah.
And we're going to share more stories. I just wanted people to get more understanding of you and a bit of a background of you and how I know you. And obviously we're going to have you on the podcast a lot more. So I appreciate you coming.
Thank you. It's honestly an honor. I've seen you. Everything you touch turns into gold, whether it's Amer Fitness, it's the Mind Builder, Essentials, your mentorship, literally everything, and all these other businesses you've had. I've been to every Mind Builder. I've been to every elite coaching.
Thank you.
Man, you're doing well.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you too, man.